Hey everyone, it is the Nature Man, and today we are not camping in the woods, although I did camp this past week. We're going to get into that, folks. It was a hot one, that was for sure. We're also going to have a delicious meal today from a company called Peak Refuel. It's a dehydrated meal. So I have everything set up, ready to go, so we can boil some water, get that food going, and have story time. So I can tell you what my experience was like during a heat wave camping in the woods. Let's get to it. All right, folks, so as you can see, we have our dehydrated meal warming up. It says take about 10 minutes before it's really ready. We're going to try that out. It looks delicious. The aroma smells good too. So we're going to give that a try. So while that's happening, let's talk about my experience camping this past week. All right, folks, so this past week I planned on camping back at Miles Standish. I booked it a couple of weeks ago, ready to go, and then we got hit with this incredible heat wave. Temperatures that rose to the high 90s with a heat index of 106 degrees. It was brutal. Now on the day that I went camping, I was going to be there for the Tuesday night, Wednesday night, return Thursday morning. So I wait later on in the day. I have all my stuff packed, ready to go. Just got to load it into the vehicle, take the drive. The drive getting there, absolutely beautiful. Had the AC going, just fantastic. I arrive at the headquarters, I check in, and then I drive to my camp spot. As soon as I get out of my car, folks, that heat just hits you. You know, you got to think about it. You're in an AC, air-conditioned car, nice and chilled, and then you get hit with 100+ degrees, sweat pouring down my face. First thing I wanted to do was set my tarp, get some shade, chair, sit down, rest for a little bit, and just take my time getting my camp set up, which I do. I do that. But I made the crucial mistake of still wearing my long pants when I started setting things up. So the next thing I set up was my privacy / bathroom tent, changed into my shorts, finished getting my camp set up. And again, nice and slow and steady, staying hydrated the whole entire time, get the tent set up, slow and surely. But by the time I was done, folks, I had the sweat just pouring down my face. It was unbearable. It really was. It was so challenging to be out there and get everything set up under those extreme conditions. Now, originally, when I looked at the weather forecast for this past week, especially those days, originally it was going to be maybe in the mid 80s, lower humidity, not too bad. But then, bam, Mother Nature decided, heat wave, extreme temperatures, let's see how you're going to handle it. Now, I will say this. The saving grace for me was this USB powered fan that I have, and I combined that with my battery pack and my battery power supply. That was the saving grace to give me some ventilation, some cool air, relatively speaking. But also, I had a cooler that I picked up from where I work. It's the Igloo 9-quart cooler. I filled that with iced bottles of water. So I had them frozen in the freezer at home, and when it was time to go, I just loaded that into the cooler, packed my drinks, some fruit, things like that, anything that needed to be cold. And I'll tell you what, folks, I was thoroughly impressed with that. It lasted from the time that I was there to the time I came home, which was actually the next day, like 12 hours, and everything was still cold. Sure, the water bottles were starting to, melt, the ice was melting, but it was still super cold, refrigeration temperature. I was thoroughly impressed. Now, speaking about cold drinks, let's pop open this bubbly first so I can rehydrate. That's good stuff, folks. All right, back to the story. So I'm there and I have everything set up. Now, I had ordered 2 bundles of firewood, anticipating I was going to have some campfires, but there was just no way I was going to set up a fire. Even if I wanted to smoke just to get rid of the bugs, the amount of effort was just way too much for me. And I decided I'm not going to do it. In fact, I got myself ready for bed after I had something to eat. I didn't really cook up a meal, just had some stuff cold. And got myself ready for bed, and I hopped into the tent. Before long, I was in dreamland. I woke up a couple of times throughout the night. I had to use the bathroom and whatnot. But other than that, I said to myself, that's it. I woke up the next morning, and it was still hot and humid, 80 plus degrees. The bugs were swarming around. I did have a dehydrated meal, which was a breakfast meal from the same company, which was absolutely delicious and gave me a little bit of that energy I needed. Airplane, always happens. So that's why I'm really excited to try out this meal. Ooh, still very hot, but I can feel that it's definitely absorbed the water. So yeah, it was one of those things where I woke up, I had my breakfast, and I just started thinking, what is the temperature going to be like today? Is it going to be like the day before? Will I have a great time here, or am I just going to feel miserable being here? And so I made the decision to bail. And it's not the decision I wanted to make, but for my own health and safety reasons, I felt like it was the best thing to do. So I slowly packed everything up. Again, hot, humid, buggy, all that stuff. And I just realized this is what I got to do. And I was out of there by like 8 o'clock in the morning. I was actually up at like 5:30. So that's what I am doing. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that I did plan a camping trip this past week. I did go, but I didn't film. And that's the reason why. It was just too hot, too nasty for me. Now, I want to go back. I want to do another overnight camping trip because I've got that bug in me, folks. And it just feels so good, right? I come out here on days like today where it's actually temperatures in the mid 70s. Earlier it was in the 60s. So this is perfect weather to be out here. But that's not what the Mother Nature had planned for me. So it is what it is. It happened, right? The positive is I learned a few more things about these camping adventures, and I want to share that with you. So one of the things I discovered is, for me personally, I'm using camping gear that you will use when you go hiking and camping on trails, right? So if you go hiking on a trail and you find a camp spot, that's where you're going to go. That's the gear that I have. Now everyone else around me either had trailers, you know, like motorhomes, or they had these big, tall tents. They had screened canopies for the picnic tables, and they're just living large, right? And I started to think about that. I was like, you know, I'm at a campground. I'm not camping at a campsite off a trail. And there's a big difference between going camping, say you're on the Appalachian Trail, and you're going to a camp spot off that trail, compared to a campground. A campground is bigger, has public bathrooms and whatnot, more space, and some of them have hookups. This one does not. So there's a level of comfort that you have that you may not have out on the trail. So I was like, should I invest in a bigger tent, more space that I can stand up in? And actually I tried using my cot inside of the tent that I have, which is the Naturehike Mongar 2 tent, which I used in the last camping trip. And I know I really didn't show it much, but I want to show you guys this new tent that I have. But even the camping cot that I have wouldn't fit inside of there. So there was just a lot of things happening that just made it just not the best situation for me, but that's okay. And the reason why it's okay is because, like I said, I've learned a few things along the way. Number one, it's okay if I go a little bit bigger with the gear I have as far as a tent is concerned. Why? Because I'm at a campground. So the weight and the size, it's all going to be in the vehicle. I'm not lugging it around on a trail. And the other thing is, you can have some of the other creature comforts that you would have from home at a campground. For example, if you do want to bring a much more powerful fan when it's hot, you could do that. There are actually units out there that are air-conditioned units. I don't know how well those would work because you need ice for them, but that's another possibility. The other thing is, if you have a camper, you can have that with you. Like I said, there's just many options out there when it comes to a campground beyond just the normal tent that I have that would maybe make things a little more comfortable for the experience. But I also discovered something else. I also discovered that my passion truly is these type of experiences and bringing them to you folks. These day hiking, day camping adventures, this to me is what brings me the greatest joy, right? I do want to do overnight adventures and I want to do overnight camping, but is being at an actual campground, for me, is that something that I find great joy in? Or is it just part of the learning experience as I continue to grow and evolve and being in the outdoors and sharing those experiences with you? I have to say, folks, this is my cup of tea right here. This is where I love to be, surrounded by nature like this, in these quiet, secluded areas. Yeah, this to me is like home. And I think that was something that I learned very quickly from that experience. And things may be different for you. You may go camping at a campground and that may feel like home for you. But for me, this is home. And you know what you do when you're at home? You have yourself a delicious meal. So what do you all say? Do you think it's been about 10 minutes long? I think it has, based upon my filming. And it feels like this pack is definitely softened up. I don't feel like any pieces of pasta that are not cooked. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up and we're going to give it a taste and see see how it is. Let's go ahead and give this a try. See how it is. Ooh. Ooh. Well, it definitely absorbed all the water, I can tell you that. Wow. Yeah, that definitely absorbed all the water. That's crazy. So the way I filled it up is I just filled it up to the point where it was just above the meal itself. What? Bon appetit. Mmm. Oh, wow. Wow. That is very good. That's like a meal that I would actually make at home. Wow. Mmm. Okay. I am definitely going to enjoy this, folks. Could I have used a little more water? Maybe. But, all right. I'm not going to bore you folks with me eating this meal, but if you get a chance, try it out. This is delicious. Now, let's see what happens later on, but wow, that is really good, folks. Really, really good. All right, I'll bring you guys back in just a moment. Alright folks, you may be wondering, hey Nature Man, you just made coffee, but how did you do it without a filter? Well folks, this is cowboy coffee, or at least my attempt at it here in the woods. So as you can see, I boiled some water, 1 scoop of the coffee grounds, let that come to a boil, let it sit for a little bit, added some cold water so the grounds would go down to the bottom, and then I add some water to the side where I was going to pour out of. So therefore I should not have any grounds inside this coffee. And it should be a good flavorful cup. We're going to find out right now. It smells like coffee. I'm going to see if it tastes strong enough. Not bad. Not bad. Either more grounds or less water. Probably poured too much water to the mix, but that's okay. It's fine. It's not a strong cup of coffee, but there's definitely the coffee flavor in there. Not too bad, not too bad. All right, folks, I'm going to enjoy this cup of hot water coffee. And as you can see, I'm just out here trying out new things, folks, and bringing them along for you to see and enjoy as well. Maybe you want to give this a try yourself. Try some cowboy coffee out there in the woods. Maybe it'll work for you, maybe not. You never know. With that being said, folks, I'm going to sign off for the day. Going to enjoy my time out here, clean up my little mess here, and then pack out and go home. But I hope you've enjoyed being with me here today so we can talk about the camping trip during the extreme hot temperatures and some things to consider when you go out camping, whether it's a campground for you or camping in sites like this. All right, folks, take it easy, take care, God bless, and I'll see you on the next one.